right, welcome back, everybody. This is Lecture 21, Part 4, and I know this one's been a little long, so I apologize, but this is a lot's going on in this area, so we're going to finish it up with a very brief discussion of downloadable content, or DLC as it's more commonly known. So, both the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3 had hard drives and internet connections as standard features. And one of the things game developers realized that they could offer downloadable content or DLC that you could use to modify the game in various ways. So this takes a lot of different forms in the world of gaming. These include things like buying new levels for a game that you really like, buying XP boosters, buying extra levels or extra game modes. So a game that's basically a single player game might have a multiplayer component that you can buy as downloadable content. It can be things like extra characters in games. It can be whole new story chapters in a narrative game. So if you really love a game like, I'm trying to think of one that has one. Uh, Shoot, I'm drawing a blank. Sorry. Diablo 3, for example, after you play through Diablo 3, you could buy the pretty meaty expansion and play like a whole nother story chunk of the game. This can be monetized for money. It could also be offered for free as an enticement to buy the original game. And different publishers take really different tacks with this. The image in the slide that you're looking at contains one of the first and sort of more notorious forms of DLC. It's horse armor for Oblivion Elder Scrolls 4. It was one of the first DLCs you could buy. I think it ran about $2.50, and everyone kind of just ran out and bought it if you were an Oblivion player just to see what downloadable content was like. And it made a pile of money for Bethesda. So the right downloadable content can be very, very lucrative for companies. Generally, in class, I take a poll, and most of us are sort of like, yeah, downloadable content's not our favorite. And then when we ask how many people have bought it, almost all of us raise our hands, including me. So it's one of those things we've sort of learned to live with, and in some ways, it has a lot of advantages for the industry. So let's talk about the good parts of DLC, and then we'll talk about some of the things that maybe we don't like about it quite so much. Some good things, some benefits of DLC for the game publishers and developer. It's just more money, right? It's a way to extend, or expand the life cycle for a game. A lot of times we play a game, we finish it, and we never revisit it. Whereas with downloadable content, you can revisit a game you like or refresh a game you like with new content and play it again. It allows multiple revenue streams, right? I might sell my downloadable content in pieces, so you only need to buy what you want. Or I might sell a season pass that gives you a slight discount when you buy it all at once. Or 2 years down the road, I might sell an ultimate edition of the same game, except now I include all the DLC for free. So it really does offer a lot of benefits to the game developers and game publishers. The other thing that they don't mention as obviously about this was also a way to sort of combat used game sales. So because if I bought Dark Souls and then I sold it back to GameStop, I wouldn't be able to have I wouldn't have a copy for an the Ashes of Ariandel came out, which was a big new chunk of playthrough content for Dark Souls. For us as consumers, it's extra content for our favorite games. Do you like Rock Band? I sure do. You know what? Do I like the band Queen? Yes, I do. I'm going to buy all these Queen songs, right? So there's all this like more of what I love. It makes our games last longer, right? It's, maybe I'm getting more out of each game because I'm getting extra bonus content out of it, and maybe that content's not terribly expensive, so I don't mind paying for it. Or maybe it's a little pricey, but I love the game so much, it's more of what I love. So that's really nice. It also kind of lets you customize your game experience, right? Maybe I like Diablo, but I don't like it enough to spend 30 or 40 bucks on the expansion, and that's okay. But maybe you do love Diablo, so you can sort of get more of what you like or customize your game experience in a way that you like. Maybe you really want to have a red cape in your MMORPG game instead of the regular blue cape. $2 gets you the red cape, and now you're a little bit happier, and you have a red cape, so you stand out versus all those people who have blue capes. Stuff like Fortnite and stuff. This is how they make their bones, right? They don't want to. You don't want to be walking around with the default skins in Fortnite. Everyone can tells you're a noob and shoots you and all that good stuff. So there's a lot of good benefits to DLC. It's good for publishers and developers in terms of revenue and longer life cycles for games and extra revenue streams. It's good for us in that we enjoy the content, more content for the games we love. We might spend more time with the game, so we maybe don't buy quite as many games. And like I said, you know what? You can customize your experience. I really love this one character in League of Legends, so I'm going to buy all the skins for that character. So every time I main it, you can see that I have all the different outfits and I can change them between rounds and stuff like that. So fun stuff. Now there are some drawbacks to DLC or downloadable content. And I think one of this is a graphic I found that sort of explains it. So when I bought a game in 1999, I got the full picture. And then when I bought an expansion pack, I would get smaller pictures to go with it. In 2005, I'd buy the full game and there might be one expansion pack. Then you start looking at last gen and next gen, and you start seeing you don't get the whole picture right. You only see part of the picture, and then you've got a DLC for $45 more, and then GameStop you can only get this DLC at GameStop, or you can only get this DLC at Best Buy, right? So you have basically you're buying all these little pieces to get the whole experience, right? So it's an argument that basically publishers are holding content back in order to get us to spend more money to buy the DLC down the road. DLC costs can be more than the original purchase price of the game, right? Here's a good example: the fighting game Dead or Alive, which I know we've talked a bunch about this semester, but it's one of I enjoy the fighting game, so it's easy. So this was a core last round. This is a free-to-play version of a very fully functional and quite robust fighting game. I wanted to show you the DLC for this game. It might be a little bit hard to read on your screen, but all of this is downloadable content. All of this. If you bought all the DLC for this nominally free game, you would have spent $1,257.82. Okay, that's crazy. Game design can also be manipulated to favor purchasing DLC as opposed to earning rewards in game. So the Madden Ultimate Team is a good example of this. If you're a FIFA, if you're a soccer fan, right? If you really like to play those games online and do the ultimate mode, what you want to do is get these little cards that represent really good players, and you can earn them by doing things in game, playing through seasons or doing training modes and stuff. Or you can just pay EA for packs of cards that are guaranteed to have one or two good cards in them. And so, because that's the main way people play online, they've sort of designed the game to entice you to buy this DLC to be able to be competitive in the online environment. There are people who complain about the on-disc DLC. This is probably pretty much tied to this HD era because the games are still coming off the disc, whereas with the newer generation consoles, the games come off the hard drive. But on-disc DLC referred to parts of the game that were actually on the physical disc. The data was actually stored on the disc, and then you had to pay extra to unlock them, even though they reside on the physical disc you bought at the store and brought home for your game console. So DLC does have this, kind of a negative connotation in that sense. So just to give you sort of a summary slide, the benefits of downloadable content are increased revenue for publishers and developers, multiple revenue streams for game, expanded lifecycle for games, more content for players, which we like, and it lets us customize our experience. Drawbacks are games aren't complete when we're purchased. You have to pay extra to get the full or true game. The game design or the game content can be manipulated, in fact, so that you have to buy the DLC, which then can actually cost more than the game itself. The on-disc DLC issue at this time, which is where the code is on the thing you physically bought, but you can't access it without paying extra. So that's kind of a brief summary of downloadable content. This is the era where it kind of comes into mainstream on consoles, and it's since spread to PC, and mobile works its angle pretty heavily. It plays a big role in the free-to-play space, which we'll talk way more about next week. So that's it for DLC. I hope everyone is well and safe, and that's it for Lecture 21. So I will see you again next week. Hopefully I'll see some of you on the streams this week on Tuesday and Thursday. Take care.